We are live. Okay, good afternoon. So this is our first official Historic Landmark Commission meeting for the 2021 year. We have Commissioner Partney with us, and I need to mute. There we go. Commissioner Vaughn should be attending once he is able to. So first order of business is to call the meeting to order, and we will do that. The second order of business was the election of chair and vice chair. Because we don't have a quorum, we will reserve that. If Commissioner Vaughn shows, we can do that at the end. So for the next order of business, I am going to go over for commissioners a little bit about the rules and regulations of local government and how the Historic Landmark Commission fits within that role. And so I'm going to share my screen now. And please tell me if you can see a big Historic Landmark Commission.
Yes.
Yes, I can see it.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Okay. So here we are, the Historic Landmark Commission. What is the role of a citizen advisory board in local government? And we have our local responsibilities under Oregon Statewide Planning Program, which are, we really want to address the local vision and the needs of the community, adopt plans and codes in compliance with the statewide goals, enforce those codes and ordinances, and make land use decisions. And so how does the Historic Landmark Commission fit within all of that? Well, the commission has the opportunity to hear from the public. Also, Mike Vaughn has just joined. I'm going to pause for a second. Mike, if you can hear us, we just started a presentation just on the role of the Historic Landmark Commission. The Historic Landmark Commission has an opportunity also to complete historic resource surveys and kind of go out in the community and see what is the need in respect to historic preservation matters. You have the opportunity to make policy recommendations to our council, also code amendment recommendations to Planning Commission. You will have the opportunity to review and act upon applications for alterations, relocations, demolitions of designated landmarks, and those are going to be resources that are adopted to our local register, and also be reviewing applications for the relocation or demolition of historic resources of statewide significance. And those are resources listed on the national register, and they may or may not be adopted on our local register. Also responsible to comment on nominations to the National Register of Historic Places. So Oregon statewide planning goals, they have so many goals, 19 in fact. The Historic Landmark Commission is majorly concerned with Goal 5, natural resources, scenic and historic areas, and open space. Not to say that other goals aren't implicated at times. Certainly citizen involvement in land use planning, also be looking at recreational needs and economic development and housing and how those can impact or have an impact on preservation related matters. So the commission, where do you fit in city government? Well, staff is here to work with you to help achieve council goals, as well as to communicate to our council Historic Landmark Commission findings and recommendations. Of course, everything goes back to the citizens and the city's responsibility to address the local community vision and needs. Okay, the standards and qualifications for a commissioner. We will have up to 5 members who are appointed by the mayor, and preference is given to those with professional experience in the fields of preservation, architecture, archaeology, community history, building trades, and real estate. This doesn't mean that a commissioner has to have that experience, but that experience will be weighted stronger when considering applicants. Right now we have 3 members, and it's required that a majority of your members reside in North Bend city limits. Right now, 2 of those 3 do, so we're good there. Initial appointments are for 1-year terms, and subsequent terms will be for 3 years. So I know commissioners have been appointed and serving, and should know that the current terms end December 31st of this year. And so I hope that you will reapply, the commissioners that are active, and that if there are any other individuals interested, know that this would be the time to start consider applying for the 2022 term start. Our quorum is a majority of the seated members. And so for us, that's 2. And the chair and vice chair are elected annually, and hopefully we'll do that before this meeting is over. Required to meet not less than 4 times a year. And you should know that staff is here to help carry out the administrative provisions of the regulations on historic preservation. So the responsibilities of our Historic Landmark Commission. You're here to educate the community on historic preservation, periodically conduct historic resource surveys, periodically revise our designated landmarks register, also review and act upon those applications for changes made to historic resources. You can advise and make policy recommendations to the City Council and to the Planning Commission on historic preservation matters. Should support the enforcement of all state laws relating to historic preservation. You absolutely have the opportunity and responsibility to review and provide opportunity for comment on nominations to the National Register of Historic Places, and you must act as an impartial hearing body in all respects. So your relationship to our elected officials, it's important to clearly understand your responsibilities and authority versus the responsibilities and authority of the governing body. You'll have the opportunity to make decisions related to historic preservation, land use applications, and also advise again and make recommendations to the governing body. When making decisions, it's important that those be sound and based on adequate findings so that your reasoning is clearly laid out there for the governing body if they ever are in a position to have to consider that. You can communicate regularly with the governing body. You can do that through staff. Don't be afraid to give the council advice on historic preservation related matters. That's your role. So your relationship with staff. The commission is not supervisory to staff. Staff is certainly a resource, and we all want to work as a team. Just ask that the competing priorities are respected. There's more going on than just the Historic Landmark Commission. And I want you to know that hopefully you will consider anytime staff makes a recommendation or gives advice, but you're always welcome to take a different track if your reasoning is sound. The commission's role, relationship to the public. The biggest thing, follow the golden rule for decision making, be fair. Also follow Oregon public meeting laws, which essentially boils down to all business discussions must be done in a public meeting. So conversations shouldn't be happening outside of that arena. Anytime you're making recommendations or decisions, do your homework. Follow the rules when you're conducting quasi-judicial public hearings. Of course, be respectful to everyone, especially to each other. When we are discussing things, keep to the topic, don't digress, and don't let participants digress. Of course, we all know it's a delicate balance between thoroughness and efficiency. So that is kind of my quick overview of the Historic Landmark Commission's role as a advisory body. I'm going to stop sharing and then Scott, you're still here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
All right. No, I understand the conversation.
Great. Okay, well then I'll let Miss Curry Gill is here from the State Historic Preservation Office, and she's going to just talk to us about the CLG program.
Thanks, Chelsea. This is Curry Gill with the State Historic Preservation Office, and I'm based in Salem, Oregon, or the office is based in Salem, Oregon. I am not in Salem, Oregon right now. And Chelsea, nice job on that. That was, I might have to borrow that from you. It was a good, concise summary with nice visuals. So well done. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I get to share a little bit about what the Certified Local Government Program is and what the City of North Bend's participation means, and sort of the responsibilities, but also benefits of that participation. So Scott, this is so super informal, and Chelsea too, actually. If you have questions while we're talking about this, just ask, and this can be kind of a conversation too. So what I thought I would start with is sort of the origins of the Certified Local Government Program. So this program is a federal program, and it's a requirement of the state historic preservation offices. The National Park Service manages the Historic Preservation Fund, and there are roles that come with that. Designation of historic properties, protections of historic properties, and among other things, and all those national parks, which are awesome. So those are all funded by the Historic Preservation Fund, and those are dollars that also fund the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Both of those are based off of funding that comes from oil drilling. So it's tied to, it's sort of a mitigation for the environmental impacts of oil drilling. So this, the National Park Service has a system to implement those programs locally through the states and the tribes. And they do that through the state historic preservation offices, and our offices get funding to help manage and coordinate those programs, like the National Register of Historic Places. One of the requirements then is that we also try to get that work to happen locally, and so the Certified Local Government Program is the tool with which we do that. And we are required to give at least 10% of our grant dollars that we receive to the certified local governments. We give about 25% because we really believe that you at the local level know your history, you know what's important, you know how to work with your community, and the best preservation happens at the local level. So we're all in with you, and we view ourselves as partners. And the idea is that by creating this program locally, you have some folks on the commission who are committed to this work, who follow the purpose that Chelsea laid out, and it fits nicely under Oregon's Goal 5. So it's nice pairing that way. And then we can provide, you set that up and you do the work, but we can provide recommendations, resources, examples from other communities, just advice, training and access to broader training beyond what our office can offer to help you do that work and get you going. So one of the things that our office did a few years ago now is provide a survey of kind of a big-ish area of North Bend to document historic properties. And so I think there's a plan for us to come at some point and talk through that survey and talk a little bit about designation and documentation and all of those pieces. So survey, designation, and treatment and promotion are kind of the focus of preservation work. part of the role you have is to help make those things happen in North Bend. We do have a grant program to help assist with doing that work. It does have to be tied to preservation. And in the case of Oregon, it's non-competitive. So if you're a certified local government who's meeting your requirements to be involved in the program, then you can access the grant funds every other year. So essentially what I do is let everybody know kind of when we know, but it always depends because it's federal funding and it counts on the legislature. But usually sometime in December, we get an idea of what our funding is going to look like, and then I will create the applications. And then if it's your year to apply, and North Bend could apply this year, or in 2022, you can apply, and the deadline is the last Friday in February. And as I said, it's non-competitive, and I forget, what's the population in North Bend?
2020 census says that we are at 10,317.
Okay. So that's growing. Wow.
Yes.
I bet you all are noticing that too. So this grant does require a match, but like your time with the commission, Chelsea's time organizing it, dealing with minutes and public notice, any other staff involved in that, that time can qualify as the match. So usually we don't have a problem coming up with a match. Lately, it's been around $12,000, and it can be used to do the documentation. It can be used to assist with like structural assessments or facade design for any property that's historic in age. You could also fund work on historic properties if they're listed in the National Register. That becomes more complex, so I don't recommend starting out with that. As a grant funded project, I want to really be aware of staff time and commissioner time as well. So like easing into some good educational programming is what I recommend to get started. So the grant funding is available. You have about 17 months to complete the work. So it's got a longish timeline. That tends to work pretty well because, as I mentioned, everybody's time, the commissioners are volunteers and the staff in every city I've talked to is overwhelmed. So, so we want to make sure that we're there.
Oh, did I? I was just going to ask, Curry, do you have any recommendations for how the city could pursue a grant for like education and outreach in that first year, like what that would look like, what it would be geared towards?
Sure. Well, I would definitely, you're talking about having some training come and some like that survey conversation, putting some funding toward inviting the public to participate in those, whether it's through whatever the right media is locally there. And sometimes that doesn't take funding, but it might take time. And so you can document that staff time or commission time for that. So having things that happen at your meetings that could also not only enrich the commission itself, but be a public engagement tool is a really nice way to get things going, especially because you don't have much design review at the beginning. So you have that space to fill. As long as you're learning stuff, you might as well invite the public to participate. And then you're also not like creating another event to have to manage. So
Yes.
So that's a really good starting point. I think awards programs are really successful. They don't seem like a big deal, but people do like recognition, and they are also a little competitive, and they're not really hard to do. So you can create a really simple award. You can have a nomination process, or the commission could do the work to reach out and select ones themselves. Just create the process so it's fair. And then, ask the mayor to present it at a city council meeting, whether it's online or in person, however that works. That really goes a long way, and you usually get some attention in the media because somebody's getting an award for doing good preservation work. And then fun stuff. So May is Historic Preservation Month. So finding some fun activities for the community. One of my favorites that I've seen done, either just with paper or some people have done it online, is to do a architectural feature scavenger hunt. So you take a close-up photo of a piece of a historic building and put it on the paper, and then people have to try to find where in the city that is, like write down the address, and then you put them in for a drawing for some little, local lunch or something somewhere.
Great.
That's been fun. People really, really like that. We've seen people or communities make coloring books and then do a coloring contest. And actually Enterprise right now in Northeastern Oregon has partnered up with the local school to do the coloring contest. So they're a small community, so sometimes it's easier to get into really connect with the schools when they're smaller. So that's been neat. Coburg does a pretty interesting thing. It's sort of it's an art contest, but the muse has to be the historic property. So it could be paintings, it could be photographs, or any of those kinds of things, and then they do an art contest.
Mike is in my office.
Oh, great. And we do have a document on our website that provides some brainstorms for Historic Preservation Month. It's kind of older, but it's a good list from other CLGs. So.
So Curry, you had some good ideas in your presentation, things that work towards getting community involvement in kids.
Yeah, we really recommend that. There are some CLGs that have been CLGs for a long time, and they have really started to just.
We're mostly. Okay, we got our.
All right. Yay.
I'm gonna move it.
So they have really started to just focus on the designer review part. And if you do that in a vacuum without continuing to garner the community support and appreciation for these historic places and their value in the community, then you lose support for the program. So we always recommend some sort of outreach, promotional, educational opportunity with every grant cycle, and then that sort of helps maintain that support. And you actually have a few good examples of properties in North Bend that have been listed and taken advantage of the federal tax credit program to do some of the preservation. And then of course you have the theater there that is doing their nomination and doing all the work on the theater. So you have some good examples that you could share with the public. Like it'd be pretty cool. The theater has the domes are going to be put on when they get to finish the roof. So what if you had, and this could be a COVID safe thing, but like what if you found out from them when that's happening, and like have people come out and watch it together and like cheer for when it settles in and stuff, because that's going to change your skyline. It's going to be really cool. So that would be a fun and easy thing.
Activity. And Mike Vaughn is here, and I believe, Mike, you're part of that project.
Yes.
So maybe you'll be able to give us some insight. We can help.
Yeah, the roof project has been postponed till May.
Right.
And so at that point, we will open the roof up again and repair the timbers that need repair on the east end under the dome. Originally, the domes were removed because there was a leak. And as I understand it, all they did was just patch over the holes. They didn't fix whatever was going on there underneath them. And since then, it has deteriorated even more. So when we opened it up a little bit, we found that there was a lot more than we expected. And so we postponed it till the next drier season. And so they're in storage over at a secure location, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So they'll be going up probably in May of 22.
See, there's a Preservation Month activity right there.
Super cool. Thanks, Mike. Okay, well, if Scott or Mike have any questions for Curry?
No, not at this time. Appreciate her presentation.
All right, thanks, Scott. Curry, do you have anything else you want to add right now?
No, just if you start thinking of ideas and are wondering if they're appropriate or fitting, or you need to find resources for them, just reach out to me. That's what we're here to help with. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, I appreciate it.
Actually, I lied. I have one more thing. Just
okay.
Thanks to you and the commission members for getting this started in North Bend again. You have a lot of really important historic places there, and I think that you have some really good and fun work ahead of you. So I appreciate your time and effort on this.
Well, great, thank you. Okay, so I'm looking at our agenda. We don't have any public hearings. There's no public comment. And if commissioners, if you have any just general comment, this would be the time. Not from Mike, any from you, Scott?
I don't have any comments at this time, Kelsey.
Okay, great. Well, so having said that, we will adjourn the meeting. The next time we will meet is February 4th. But thank you all for participating. It's like Curry said, we've been inactive for a while, and so we're jump starting things, and hopefully moving forward, it'll be a good, good kind of enriching experience for all of us. Okay, well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your lunch hour and the weekend. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you, Curry and Chelsea.
Thank you, Scott. Bye.
Bye.
Not to figure out how to